Ladies and gentlemen, holy shit. Holy shit. Guess where I went? Well, guess where we are? We're at Hot Tongue Pizza. I'm Alex Koons, and I'm bringing you another episode of Pie to Pie. This one with a legend, Scott Wiener. Yeah. We were gifted the experience of meeting Scott at his storage unit in Brooklyn with his world record-setting box collection. Listen, if you ever make it in there, don't ever try to touch a fucking box without putting gloves on, because there's grease from your fingers and they will fuck those boxes up. Don't ever make the mistake that I did, okay? Scott sat down and shared with us his story, which was so interesting. Scott is kind of one of these figureheads in the pizza industry. I've been going to Expo for much longer than probably most of you or any of you that have never gone. Some think it's lame. I don't think it's lame. Pizza Today editor, and has been for a long time. We talk about how and why he's writing in Pizza Today. We talk about his tour empire that he's set up. We talk about Slice Out Hunger, which is a nonprofit that he's set up to give back. We talk about judging. He is trying to really help the judging process at Pizza Expo. I highly recommend anybody who's going to Expo, compete. If you really want to learn things, it's not on the show floor. I mean, it can be. Don't get me wrong. There's good stuff there. But if you really want to learn from the best, get in the back and start competing. It's also just so much fun. Even if you don't win, it's not about winning. It's about having a good time. You know what I'm saying? Me and Scott talked about judging for Expo at length, about calibrating the judges and making sure everybody's on the same page. It was very interesting to sit down. We had definitely had two different kind of perspectives of where we're coming about. Scott maybe believes you should play the game, maybe bring something you wouldn't. I'm more of a traditionalist. I don't think you should compete with anything outside of what you serve your customers every day. And if they love that, great. And if they don't, who cares, because your customers do. At the end of the day, like I said, it's about having fun. Scott shares a ton of insight on that process. He just shares a lot of insight in general. And if you haven't seen this episode of Made in America, I think that's what the show is called. It's like the Domino's versus Pizza Hut. Scott pops up on your screen. And what does it say underneath Scott Wiener's name? It says Pizza Historian. And that is no joke. Scott can talk about pizza and knows so much about pizza. It's incredible. We were not only surrounded by history of world record setting, we were also sitting on a piece of history. He had two benches from the original Joe's down on Bleecker Street, which I gotta say, not a lot of butt room, but they were pretty comfortable. He's gonna be auctioning those off for charity, also for Slice Out Hunger. He's just a good-hearted dude, really shared a lot of his time, and it was really a pleasure to sit down with Scott. I learned that he had a music background like myself. We talked a little bit about that and cutting tape and how things were a little harder back then, but maybe everything is relative. I think that is the case. When one door closes, another one opens, as they say. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time and sitting down with me, especially letting us see the collection. You are truly an inspiration, and I know how much you do for the pizza industry and how much you care. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the pizza historian, the author, the tour guide, maybe the prince of the Pizza Expo, because you know who the king is. It's Tony G, baby. The prince of the Pizza Expo, Scott Wiener. This episode is brought to you by Maestro Sausage, the only sausage we use at Hot Tongue. They produce sausages specifically with pizzerias in mind, and you can tell. So if your sausage isn't hitting all the right notes, let Maestro lead the way. Ovation, how great restaurants get better. Frictionless feedback, operational insights, real-time guest recovery, text marketing, and call to text. Click the link in the show notes. Schedule a demo today. Even just in the last 5 years, the New York pizza scene has changed greatly.
Oh, yeah. Same as Naples, though. And it's all the young kids in Naples are like, oh, now I'm doing something different, where it's intentional. It used to be that it was romanticized that, oh, we do everything that we did, what my father taught me, but it's not the case. Now it's like, no, we're allowed to do something new because there's critical mass and enough people are accepting it.
Yeah.
When you're the only one doing something new, then you're the bad guy. When there's a bunch, then it's a movement. And that's why these like young critters who started making dough for the first time ever, April of 2020, are like suddenly, wait a second, now they understand how dough works. And the people doing them since the 60s who know step 1, step 2, step 3, but don't know the mechanics of what's actually happening are being left behind.
Yeah.
Like you're changing your dough all the time. You've been tweaking and
Well, that's what we were just talking about, and and I was saying I think that like if you're not changing, then you're getting worse, because I think that anyone I talk to, and now I know you talk to a lot of people too. I know you eat a lot of pizza. You have watched this city change. You do tours. You were just in New Haven. Even that kind of pizza has. Well, I mean, those were some classic spots you went to, but Sally's is not the same as it used to be. No. They sold. Yeah. But the progression of these younger people getting in the game, a lot of people my age, one, they're more willing to share information. They're alone in it, and so reaching out is much easier, and creating community, there's less of like holding on to your secret recipe that you don't want anyone to have. Tony G, I mean, he's been in the game for a long time. John Arena, those are open books, but not everyone's in that age bracket is the same way.
But that's, I think, because the people who are not open books are the people who don't really understand why they do what they do. And so for them to teach you requires them to know how to explain what they're doing. Yeah. And I think a lot of them are like, well, no, you just add this amount of this and this amount of this, and then you mix for this number of minutes, and then you're done. Yeah. And so the reason that they're less excited about telling you about it is that they wouldn't know how to answer a question. Yeah. Like you don't get into a debate with somebody unless you feel like you're ready to have a conversation. Yeah. So I think some of those old timers, like they do what they do and it's great, but it's like a museum piece. And then there's other people who operate restaurants. And a museum piece can work if people are like, it's a legacy thing. And, we always go there because my least favorite phrase, well, they've been around 50 years. They must be doing something right. Yeah. And what they were doing right is that they bought the building, or they got your grandparents to take you there when you were a kid. So now you have allegiance to go there yourself. Yeah. But if what they're trying to do is make great food, then that's different. Yeah. It could still be food that makes you really happy, but newcomers, I think, are making better pizza.
On your tour today, how does that look on like a level of shops that have been around for a long time or newer shops? And then after that, how do you think that just in the last 10 years, the New York pizza has changed?
You mean like, how does it look on a tour, quantity of old shops versus new shops? Yeah. So we always hit a mix. Okay. I want people every stop has to be different. So if stop number 1 is Neapolitan, stop number 2 could be New York Slice Shop, stop number 3 might be a Sicilian, and then maybe stop number 4 is like a New York 2.0, whatever the new, like DOP. Yeah. So it has to be a mix of all those. So people get an understanding of like, well, here's what John's on Bleecker does and why they do what they do, and why they don't have intention behind what they do because it's a legacy place, and why a place like Brooklyn DOP has only intention because they had no background in this. Mm-hmm. So they had to learn what the heck they were doing and start doing it now. And that's all because the tour is constantly changing. Yeah. It's never the same 2 days in a row. And we route it based on the group. So when we meet the group and we're like, oh, okay, you guys live in, Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And then these people are from Orlando. And then these people are from Lithuania, whatever. Like we tailor it based on what we think would teach that group the most.
So you get on a bus and you don't actually have like, all right, we're hitting these 10 spots today.
Correct.
Well, that's pretty sick.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So
it wasn't like that there's a 15 years ago.
Yeah, there's a little, oof. Yeah, well, so that's what I'm saying. So 15 years ago, what's the tour look like? It was thought out in that? Well, it's probably much different, but.
Well, I mean, like I was 10 years old.
Yeah. I know, that was crazy. The child labor laws you were going through.
Yeah, well, I just put on a fake mustache and nobody knew. Yeah, they loved it because they didn't have to deal with me. But 10 years ago, it was, if I didn't know where we were going a week in advance, I couldn't sleep. Yeah. Because I need to make sure, I'm bringing 24 people into this place on a Saturday afternoon, and the pizzerias didn't know me. I was just like not Italian, 0% Italian guy
Yeah.
from New Jersey. You know, like all these like things about it that were like, they're not like, they didn't know me growing up. They didn't know my parents. And so it took a while to like get into the comfort zone with them so that they were more accepting and that I could call them up on the fly. So now, because I've gotten better at it and because they've gotten more used to me, we can go to a place with 30 minutes notice.
Yeah.
If it's the right place.
And how many people are usually on a tour?
Sunday bus tour is 32.
That's your biggest day?
Yeah, we don't take more than that. The walking tour, we take 16 max. And if we do a bus tour that's like you come in with your own bus, like we had these like German roller coaster enthusiast club a couple weeks ago, and they come in once a year with their own bus, 50 people, and I can jump on that bus and we can do it that way.
That's a shit ton of people that pull up in a restaurant.
But then I got to reduce where we go has to change because we never are going to go into a place that's going to be like, oh no. Like I will only take people to a place that is going to be cool with us coming in and happy that we're coming in. You
do private tours sometimes. Like I worked with an individual who was in a pretty big band and he did like a private tour. I don't know if it was with other people, but is that something you do too?
Yeah, we do that all the time.
Yeah.
So over the course of a week, we have.
He also says he's sorry for drinking so much on that tour.
What was it?
It was the dudes from White Reaper.
I don't remember.
He said it.
When was it? Wait. Was this?
He said they were probably pretty annoying.
Wait, was this part of like
he's sober
CMJ
now, by the way,
or something?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember this.
Yeah.
That was like a whole bus of people in bands.
Yeah.
That and I forgot what company was doing it for them. It was like one of those like booking agencies or something. And I don't remember exactly who it was, but they were all pretty trash, and it was fun.
Okay,
a lot of fun.
All right.
I have pictures from that tour that were really funny, and yeah, they were all a mess. It was great.
Okay, yeah. When you're drinking that much, you probably just assume you're just being an asshole all the time.
Yeah, but like, to me, well, like we deal with a lot of people who are just out partying.
Yeah.
So we deal with people who are people in the pizza business.
Yeah.
Who are doing an R&D trip, and that's like. They tell us exactly what they're looking for. Oh, I want to understand sourdough in pizzerias or topping combinations. Great. Or we get people who are pizza enthusiasts. Oh, I got a backyard pizza oven 3 years ago, and now I'm really into it. And then we get the people who are like, I love pizza. I could eat it every day. And, they're just like normal humans.
Yeah.
And then we get the people who are just out for a party.
Okay. Well, I'm sure far and few, like it's probably a big gambit. There's more people that get on that bus.
Yeah, but the fun part is like number one is you got to make sure everybody's just happy.
Of course.
But then number two is you got to try to like teach them something.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the tours that I run that are the Sunday bus tours tend to get more of the people who like care. A walking tour is less time, so it's usually families that are like trying to fit something into their schedule and that the teenage kids are not going to hate them for.
Yeah.
But then when we do private tours like that, it's like a company outing where they're just like going out after the big meeting.
Yeah.
Or something fun like that where it's like that kind of group is different from the usual.
Of course, because they're not necessarily pizza enthusiasts or anything. They're just there for the time.
Yeah, but that's why it's my goal to take their momentum and try to shift it into them caring.
Yeah.
And with them, it was really fun because like my background is music. And so it was easy enough to speak the language of like where their brains might have been going while they were intoxicated.
If your sausage needs aren't hitting all the right notes, then let Maestro lead the way. Maestro has been working closely with pizzerias for decades. They produce sausages designed specifically with pizzerias in mind. And you can tell, their Italian sausage crumbles look like they were handmade in your shop, and they will taste that way as well. With over 80 years in business, family owned and operated, the family is incredible and so is their product. It's quality sausage with quality ingredients. Click the link in the show notes. A classical masterpiece awaits you. Back to the show. You did music?
Yeah.
What kind of music?
I was a sound engineer before I was a pizza guy.
Really? Like live sound, or were you in studios?
Studio sound.
Why'd you give up on that? I did sound engineering.
I know you did. That's
Yeah.
why I'm always excited to talk. I'm really excited to
Were
talk
you
to you
Pro
about
Tools
it now.
Pro Tools certified?
Pre-Pro Tools.
Oh
This was
wow,
cutting tape.
you shit. So that's like the real deal.
So
we learned about that in class. We tried to do it, and it was like, I can't believe
so
this is
fun.
how they fucking did it. Like taping in.
For a long time.
To do that though, you really understand. I mean, seeing it done and having to do it physically, and then understanding how you can just splice shit together. It's like you have it so easy.
Yeah, totally. But it also meant that since there was less that you could do, you spent a lot less time editing. So I worked in a studio. So I went to college for audio visual production stuff, and it was a school where everybody wanted to be in broadcast, or they wanted to be film directors, and nobody cared about audio.
Yeah.
So since I was the only one who cared about audio, I got a key to the studio, and I got to TA classes when I was an undergrad. So I got access 24/7 to a recording studio that was transitioning from analog to digital. So when I graduated, I bought all their analog gear for almost nothing. And it was amazing. But I would record bands there at night, and the whole deal was like they would like bring me a pizza and $50, and I'd record them at midnight.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Was it like a Neve or an SSL board?
No, it was a Yamaha. I don't remember which model, but it was one of the first ones with automation.
Okay.
So you could have the scenes.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could have like a scene.
Musicians that have no idea or have never seen a board get real horned up when you hit that button.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's just, but my background was more. I was interning over the summers at a place called Water Music in Hoboken, New Jersey. And that was an old pillow factory that this guy who was in this like 80s rock band, I guess with his like advance check or whatever, he like bought this old pillow factory building, built a studio with an old Neve 1088, I think it was, a pair of Studers, and all of the outboard gear that are all the plugins now.
Yeah.
And it would be the kind of thing where the engineer would come in for the session and bring in their own rack. We would patch that into the main patch bay, and then I'd be the assistant for them the whole time. So they'd be doing a record, and I'd be like, oh, give me this LA2A on the, this channel.
Yep.
And then just sitting there. But I got bored of it because there was a switch of going to digital, and it just got, like the bands were not great, and they were jerky, and
It changed everything. I always say it's like everyone getting an uni and a Gosney.
it's exactly the same. It means that now there's a whole lot of like garbage music, garbage YouTube videos, garbage pizza.
Yeah.
But I think that the sum total of all those things is much better.
Yeah, 100%.
Much better pizza.
Yeah.
Much better short films, creative people who don't have to max out their credit cards to make a film.
Yeah, you just need an iPhone 16 Pro.
You can make an album on your phone.
I know. Like the technology is insane.
Yeah, but like splicing tape was just real fun. Soloing a kick drum and then with your hand moving the tape so you can hear the transient of the kick drum and go like, ooh. And then you make a little wax mark on it and then you cut right there. That was always fun. You take the piece of tape and you're like, this piece of tape is chorus number 2. And then you have to put that back into the right spot. Oh, so fun.
What you're talking about, though, what you said about how things were much harder, so there was like less tinkering around. I think there's, like with pizza, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, or in life, anything. Like the more choices or whatever you have, like you overcomplicate everything in your life. When you have the right tools, like if you're using a tape machine, it's going to sound warm. It's going to sound beautiful. Like people now pay a lot of money to use things that are of the past for a certain sound. But I don't know, we look at it as limiting yourself, but in a lot of ways, we could all probably benefit by simplifying our pizza, our life, our outlook on everything. It's because everything is coming at us in such a fucking fast, quick way. An iPhone in our pocket is like the craziest fucking thing. Going from a Nokia 3390 to this thing is, I don't know if our brains are ready for it, but.
No, they're not, but we don't have a choice.
Yeah, well, we'll see. That was just that was a random rant that I just went off.
No, but I 100% agree. Like it relates to pizza, it relates to music, it relates to grocery stores. It's like Aldi has, I don't know, it's like 25,000 SKUs and most grocery stores have like 100,000.
Yeah.
And so if you go to a place where there's just fewer options, you're going to get in and out faster because you're not sitting there comparing all these things. And I like that. Look, if I need to go through 125 kick drum samples to figure out which one I like, that to me is so boring. Having a kick drum in the room, tuning it right, muting it right, miking it right, like I like those being the choices. Like I was always an analog. Even in college, I had a little studio in my little house we were renting.
Yeah.
And it was an ADAT studio. So it was VHS tapes, so it was digital.
Yeah.
But it was analog style because you couldn't really edit. And I love that because it's like whatever's on that piece of videotape it's there.
Yeah.
And you're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
So we were making albums by like punching in and just like, oh, and if something, like I listened to one of them the other day and I was like, there's like a lot of stuff in here that I would have fixed if I was doing it in Pro Tools.
Yeah.
And it would have killed it.
Yeah.
Like it's good to listen to it because like the stuff that's off is natural and real.
Yeah.
And that's why like in pizza, sure, there's something to be said for your frozen dough puck and you let it sit in a cooler overnight and then you put it in a dough press and then you top it with exactly weighed out stuff, put it on the air impingement conveyor belt, and then everything looks the same. So that's a widget. Or you're doing it in your wood-fired oven and everyone comes out different and that's the fun.
Yeah.
But that's also the danger.
Well, true. Or thinking that you need 150 drum sounds to get a right drum, or just taking your dough and adding a little bit of salt instead of trying to do what these 150 places are doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like keep it simple. I just feel like the older I get, it's more so about balance than having more things. Balance your time, try to keep it simple in relationships, in pizza, in everything, and concentrate on what really matters. But I think what I'm saying with the iPhone is there's so many distractions you can get a hold of on 1,700 different platforms. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're trying to connect with people, but it seems harder and harder to actually connect with people, even running a restaurant. I mean, more people fucking are getting delivery. Like it's nice. You get to show people. It's almost, you get to curate a restaurant trip that people most likely will remember for the rest of their life. Not a lot of people, not like people are stopping going to restaurants, but who knows what that looks like in 50 years, you know? Will it be kind of this more, nostalgic thing where there's more tours like yours? Like, remember when we used to go to restaurants? Like, I don't know.
And that's the thing that I think, I don't know if people totally get it when they sign up for a tour, but that's like, there are rules for what we do. Like, we're not going to serve you a pizza out of a box. We're not going to serve you pizza in the bus. You have to go into the place and you have to like feel the room because you're right. Like with COVID, I think a lot of restaurants realized that, oh, maybe we don't need dine-in space because our numbers went up when people were only doing takeout. And that's like a business decision. That makes sense. And as an operator, you're making decisions about simplifying because it streamlines what you do as an operator, streamlines your life. But somebody who's tinkering around in the backyard is like, well, there's 10,000 flour products. I need to buy a bag of each and I need to try them all out.
Yeah.
And the options become a real problem. But like the experience of being in a restaurant is the thing that we can't ever lose. There's room for all the quick serve places.
Yeah.
You'll never get rid of all the McDonald's, like you shouldn't. But hopefully the existence of those highlights the existence of a restaurant where you have a real experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's no denying that the best way to have a good experience at a pizza restaurant, I know it's an industry where it's easy to get your food to go. It's always been that way. It's the pioneer of delivery food. You know, Chinese food and pizza was the only thing you could get. Thank you. We are in a storage unit, by the way. If you are just listening, we are surrounded by empty pizza boxes. The world record of pizza boxes. We'll talk about. It smells great in here.
They're all clean, mostly.
But there's no denying that the best way to eat a pizza is straight out of an oven, given to you, while the cheese still has a pull, while like it's still crispy on the bottom. Especially Neapolitan pizza, that shit is not good outside of.
we try to teach people about we only serve it on a tray. We eat it right away, or you make the choice. You put it on your plate and you can let it cool off if you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to have it there. I don't understand how somebody could write a restaurant review about food that was delivered to them.
Well, they do.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, then you can write a review and say, we got this delivered, blah, 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 whatever. But it should be a different category.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things can go wrong in that delivery.
Well, it's a different experience. That's what you're getting. You're getting a different experience. Yeah, this song is great.
This is
Tears for Fears.
It's my first album I ever bought.
This is a great album.
It's so good. I listened to it the other day.
Everybody wants to rule the world.
I don't care how many times this is on the radio. It will always be. These are the best songs ever.
I am a huge fan of Donnie Darko just for the montages. I think there is no better montages in this one where the girls are getting out of the bus and like the whole thing through the school, Drew Barrymore, all the foreshadowing. It's so fucking good. But even when he goes down the hill, ding, ding, the killing time, and then the Depeche Mode and the director's cut.
Yep.
Even that one.
Oh wait, I didn't see
The director's cut has it's a Depeche Mode song. It's very good.
Did not know that.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
I just got chills as soon as you said Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
Because that was, and I remember I went to see Tears for Fears, and they played that song.
Mad World?
They played Mad World but the cover version.
Yeah, it's all,
which is great. And then they played it again at the end of the set, their version.
That's sick.
It was like, oh my God. First of all, any band playing the same song twice in a set, I'm way into it.
Yeah.
But the two versions, and they were like, the original will always be the best. And then they played their version, which is not as good as the cover, let's be honest.
Yeah, well, they have to say theirs is the best. I've seen them live twice, and I think I cried maybe both of those times.
I love them.
Yeah. How did the tour come to be? Did you just quit music and you're like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do a pizza tour.
Yeah.
Was that
basically,
it?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, so I quit. I had a job at the recording studio, and then that got me a job at Hoboken City Hall, where I was like the in-house audio guy for anything that the city did.
Okay.
And Hoboken, you ever been to that town?
We've driven through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Hoboken is like
I know Tony Baloney's is there. Yeah.
You talked to Mike before?
Dude, Mike Hawk is one of the best guests we've ever had on here. He is such a dope dude.
I love him so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Shout out Tony Baloney's. First dairy slice I had after being vegan for 7 years.
And it's a lot of dairy probably.
Fuck, I had 3 of those donkey slices. They were fire. I ate them with my in-laws and Matt at the last AC Expo.
I love Mike.
Yeah, good dude.
So good. So I met him. His wife Jill got him a surprise birthday party pizza tour for his 30th birthday.
Sick.
Like almost 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's
maybe.
a while.
Yeah, and that's how I met Mike. And his whole family was like, he owns a pizzeria. And he was all shy about it. And he's like, oh, and he handed me, I think, their first menu. And I looked at it and I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was his first one.
Yeah.
And it's insane now. Imagine it then.
Yeah.
When he thought that like he could just do anything, which he still does.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he pulls it off somehow.
I don't know how either, but
Most of the shit, I would look at that menu and be like, I am not eating that. And then you take a bite and you're like, holy shit, this guy might be a wizard.
yeah.
Yeah.
The French onion soup, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, so I was working in the city of Hoboken before Tony Baloney's was open, and I was doing all these like music events. Hoboken has a lot of public events for families, like concerts for the kids, movies in the park in the summer, and I would sort of run all those things. And it was cool because it was like a real job.
Yeah.
And then I would do sound at like live sound at night. And it was a weird situation because I was living on a boat at the time.
Sick.
It was a whole thing. I was living on an old Ellis Island ferry boat, like the only surviving Ellis Island ferry boat. It was a full-size ferry boat, like 150 feet long, crazy ferry boat.
How many people were living on this thing?
Just the 2 people who owned it. It's this couple who are artists. They had a dog and a cat. Oh, 2 dogs and a cat. And then they were on the main deck. And then I was 2 up in the captain's quarters. And then there was at one point a tenant.
So sick.
I'll show you pictures later. It was unbelievable. But my boss in the city of Hoboken had met this couple because they were in town. Their boat was at the ferry terminal.
Yeah.
And they were just sort of like living there kind of under the radar. And I said as a joke, like, oh, let me know when you have dinner with them. Let me know if they're renting a room because I want to not live in my parents' house too much longer. And they said, yeah, tell your guy, Scott, he can move in Tuesday if he wants. So like that's what happened.
That's crazy.
So I lived there rent free for 3 years.
Holy shit, rent free? They just like let you live there?
Well, I was the caretaker. So I was in charge of, so it's this couple who
It's like a crazy New York story that I feel like I'd see like on Girls. You know, like, oh, we're going to Scott's house. He lives on a ferry boat.
Yeah. But it was real.
Yeah.
It was totally real. Yeah. And it was, so I was like, I mean, you can definitely imagine. So there was like a passenger deck with a baby grand piano on it, huge space.
Yeah.
And so I would like play music with people there. We'd have like little shows on the boat. And I kind of got tired of the job that I had. And I figured since I'm working on this boat, not paying rent, I should just quit the job because my expenses are basically zero. Mm-hmm. And I gave myself 6 months of like figuring it out time.
Sick.
Because I was.
That's great. A lot of people don't get that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's why I'm being really clear about it. Like I wouldn't have been able to start this if I didn't have that safety net of like not paying rent.
Uh-huh.
So I was living on this boat. I had plenty of stuff to do, but the people who owned the boat knew that I was like really into pizza in the way that like normal people are into pizza, but like a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because prior to this, when I played in bands, whenever we toured, we would obviously eat pizza everywhere because it's cheap.
Musician's best friend.
Yeah. But I started keeping a diary, like a journal of all the pizza that I'd eat. And so instead of like, I hate to, like before the phones and all that stuff, like, and you would keep like a tour journal. My tour journal was just about, oh, we went there for pizza. We went with this person who booked us in their house show and they took us to their favorite place and their friend owns it and he gave us free pizza. And like, it sort of developed all these stories in there about pizza around the country and people, and it had nothing to do with, oh, what's your fermentation time? And like none of that. It was all like cultural, emotional, like this is pizza feeds the people kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then after that, when I'm in Hoboken and living on this boat, those pizza journals became like, I went back to that and I was like, well, let me go and visit all these places in New York that I've either never been to or never really thought about in a deeper way. And I started visiting more places on purpose, taking my friends. And then for my birthday that year, after I quit, I was like, oh, I'll rent a school bus. And we'll pack like 30 of my friends on the bus and we'll go around to some hot spots on a little pizza crawl. And I gave them all a little notebook and little mints and little Tic Tacs and like little candies to like have the experience. And at the end of that pizza crawl, my friends basically demanded that I like that be the next thing that I do. And so I just listen to them.
What if you could have a direct line to your customers? Since using Ovation, that's exactly what we've had. 10 out of 10. Ovation has been a game changer at Hot Tongue. It has also upped our Google and Yelp reviews by almost 300%. It teams up with our POS and they send out these surveys after every order from us about their service, the food, everything. If it's anything lower than 5 stars, they can comment on why their experience wasn't the greatest. This has helped us save customers and see how we need to change. It's allowed for us to have data that we did not have before, send guests discount codes right through your POS to make it better, and it creates the possibility to fix something before it goes to a 1 star at Yelp. Frictionless feedback, operational insights, real-time guest recovery, text marketing, and call to text. Click the link in the show notes. Schedule a demo today. Ovation, how great restaurants get better. I mean, this is no different than like most entrepreneurial stories. Like usually it starts with like your friends or family and then somebody drops a seed in your head that's like, oh, well, if you this is something you love, you could make this a business. But like, where do you go from there? Like, how do you cook up funding? Like, was it that easy? Did you need insurance? Like all these things. And then how do you even promote it? You're just this dude that doesn't really have too big of a relationship with these pizzerias. You're showing up like
no relationship.
How did you bring all of that together? And like, what was the scariest part about actually deciding that this is what you were going to do with your life?
Well, the first part was of, I guess I wasn't totally honest with myself. I thought at the time, like, oh, I don't want to run a business. Like, I just want to like show up and do something and get paid. And like, that's what I do. And then I play music on the side and whatever, like that's my whole life. But I think I was just kind of afraid to like take a leap and do anything like anybody would be. But then I started looking into the insurance and like, what does it take to run a business? And I was like looking for something that would be too much. And then I could say, all right, I thought about it, but no, I'm not doing it.
Too hard.
Yeah, and I was looking for something to be too hard, but I found, I called another person who ran a tour company. He told me, oh, call this guy for insurance. I talked to him and it wasn't too expensive. Then I looked into companies that sell tickets because at that time you had to apply and then the company would take you on if they liked what you wanted to do. And a website, I had to find somebody to build a website on the cheap, like all those things, just nothing seemed to be too much. And I just took whatever money I had in savings at the time, which was, I think it was around $7,000. And I just slid all that into a business account. And I just figured I'll go until this is zero. And then I tried and I was like 26. So I figured if I bottomed out, then you got time to recover.
Of course.
So that's all it was. And it was just, you have to take a tour guide's license test in New York City. You got to have a license to do a tour. So I went and took that test and failed it. And it was that day that I was like, well, I'll just retake it in a week and I'll just study what I missed and I'll pass it. But that day that I failed, I went and visited a couple pizzerias since I was already in Manhattan and lived in Hoboken at the time. I was in Manhattan, so I figured, oh, let me go to like Lombardi's and let me go across the street to, at the time, Ray's was over there. And like, let me just kind of pitch them the idea and start that up. And they were like relatively receptive. So that was it, because I didn't know anybody in pizza or tourism.
There's no Instagram back then, so you're not sliding into somebody's DMs. You're showing up and what you're asking for a manager or the owner?
There's no Twitter, there's no Instagram. Yeah. I was just showing up.
And
hey,
you're
can I talk to the
basically
manager?
pitching these people what the business is going to be.
And I, like, at the time was living on a boat, so I was not bathed.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
You're looking a little scruffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
26-year-old kid just comes in. I mean, I'd kind of be like, hey, it sounds like a wild idea. Sure.
You would be.
Yeah.
But I was going.
Yeah, I know. I imagine like these old school guys.
I was going to places with managers.
Yeah.
And Lombardi's was the first one I went to. And they said, they were amazing about it. They were like, yeah, you know what? Why not? Let's do it once. Mm-hmm. But so I had some time to set up everything. And
was there anyone who said no? Like, get the fuck out of here?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And it was funny because it was the place that when I did that pizza crawl for my birthday, it was the first place that we went on that pizza crawl, which I had called the day before and like got the okay. Is it okay? I show up with 26 people and right when you open and we'll be out 30 minutes later and we're going to buy a bunch of pizza, but then we're going to be gone.
Yeah.
You'll be full the minute you open. And they were the only ones at first who were like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be fine because it didn't really fit what we were doing at the time. But like it started with just a small group of places. And then as it started to get attention from the press and it took years. I mean, it's still happening. Like I have to prove myself every time I go to a place. Like, who are you? What the hell? Like, how can you talk about what I'm doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's just ego, which is a terrible thing.
Well, but it's also skepticism about just somebody you don't know. Like, it's totally reasonable.
I guess, again, that's just fear. I've been listening to a lot of self-help.
But that fear was good because I knew from the beginning because I young and
I know, but
living in New York.
If you're saying now though that you're going in and like if your opinion or like how you're analyzing or how you see something, like you're probably always talking about somebody in a positive way. So it's like I don't understand why anybody would get mad at you at this point. Like I feel like you've established yourself in a very large way. We can talk about Scott Wiener in the pizza community, but like your tour is like, you do one in Vegas. You just did one in Connecticut. Was that a very big success with Taste of New Haven?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
And we just did one in Philly with PizzaCon last week.
Oh, I didn't know you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I got one in
Philly's great.
Austin next week or the week after.
Yeah, okay. So you're Mr. Worldwide over here, dude.
Well, because I like pizza everywhere, but I still have to, like, now it's more likely that I'll go to a place and they'll have some idea of what I do.
Yeah.
But like even 5 years ago, and I never assume anybody knows anything about what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm fully prepared to like do whatever I need to do to prove myself.
Yeah.
Totally reasonable. But definitely in the beginning, I remember these places being like,
Well, let's talk about at
Who are
the
you?
beginning. That's what I like when you are just a 26-year-old kid with you know your license now to be a tour guide and like insurance for everyone to get on a bus.
Mm-hmm.
How do you give fucking people to buy those tickets?
yeah, well, that went back to my playing in rock band days. Because like when I played in bands, the thing I loved about it was doing everything ourselves, and like we like hand painted our like little CD covers
Yeah.
and like
DIY.
I booked the shows. Yeah, I loved that stuff. Like booking, routing our tours, booking all that stuff. And so, I sent out press releases and I invited some people from the press. Oh, come on my first tour. And then the very first tour I ran that morning, somebody called me from the Daily News and they were like, yeah, we're going to show up on your tour today, which I like wasn't actually prepared for them to say yes to. And I like almost told them not to because I literally had never done it. I had never even done a test tour. I was like, no, I did all the work of like setting up the website and I didn't know what I was going to talk about for 5 hours. But they showed up on that first tour. So that first tour had like a big article about it. And then that turned into like TV stuff and then other newspapers covering it. And
It's just kind of how the media works now today.
yeah.
One person, you get put on by a big thing, and then the cycle starts to run. But that happened on your first tour.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was.
What year was that?
It was April 27, 2008 was the
Okay.
first tour. And May 1st, I think, was that first article.
And so, from the get go, was it pretty full? Was it
It was-
pretty successful?
First couple of weeks were full, and then like all my friends had done it, and it was like the 5th or 6th tour that I forget what number tour, but one of those tours that had nobody that I knew on it, and that's like maybe there were 5 or 6 people on it, and on a bus tour that has high expenses, it was kind of got rough. Like it's really hard to sell tickets to a tour because it's not like I have a storefront and people walk by or drive by.
Yeah.
It's not like I was doing like door hangers. It was like, and with no social media, so it was just press was it.
So what did you just continue to keep pushing and pushing that in the press? Because like in
Yeah.
2008, if your tour starts slowing down, are you only doing it once a week at that point?
I was
Okay.
doing only Sundays. So then during the week, I would go out to all the youth hostels. Like I was thinking about it as the people who would take the tour are going to be like me. They're going to stay in like cheap youth hostels. They're going to like go to bookstores, coffee shops. And I was putting up flyers like myself, going around and putting them up, wearing a stupid pizza costume in Times Square and handing out little handbills. It was totally like what I did in bands.
Well, being in a band is like a hustle. It's a complete hustle.
Totally. Well, and looking back now, I'm like, oh man, it wasn't that we were terrible. It's that we didn't think you had to work that hard.
I say that all the time. I was like, I might not be doing this if I had just worked as hard as I do on everything I do now, but there was so much artistry involved that you couldn't look at it as a job or you would lose some kind of credibility. That's how I felt. I was like imposter syndrome. Like the minute it was like, no, we're not going to do that thing that would make us more successful because that's not what people do. But then you find somebody who's really successful in music and they're like, oh no, I did all of those things.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
you have to.
Yeah, I've treated it like a job.
Well, like,
I don't drink.
yeah.
I don't drink.
But now it's a totally different perspective now.
Yeah.
Like you can't expect that you could have done that then. And also there were other people you played with in that band or whatever.
Yeah. That was, depending on other people is always tough too. But
Well, then you started doing your own stuff. and it
depending on
was-
yourself though, that's a scary thing. Like a lot of the time we talk about like what was the scariest moment that you've had since you is it just called Scott's Pizza Tours?
That's all it's called.
No,
Yeah,
like
it's
your
the stupidest
LLC?
name.
It's pretty good.
It's
You're
called-
the face of the brand.
Yeah, but I did that when it was like when I did that because I didn't want it to have a name that was like trying to be authoritative. I didn't want it to be called like Official New York Pizza Tour Company Incorporated LLC. Like I wanted it to be very clear that this is like my perspective.
Yeah. You're
That's why
selling
it's
your
Scott's.
tour. Yeah.
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 But now I look back and I'm like, oh man, all these other people work for me. It's weird that it's called that. But it started off, it sounds totally opposite, but it sounded off as like opposite egocentric name.
Yeah.
Because I wanted people coming on it to realize that, no, this is just my perspective and I want to share it with you.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. Kind of stuck with it.
Well, back to that question. What was the scariest thing about running and owning and operating Scott's Pizza Tours?
Oh, well, how like getting into it with no connection to anyone in the tour business.
Yeah.
Because every other business I ever thought about getting into, my parents would be like, my cousin Judith's son's mother-in-law used to play piano at that club across the street from that bookstore, and you can get a job at the bookstore.
Yeah.
That like I had zero connection. So it was scary right off the bat, that thing. And then it got scary with dealing with bus companies is wild because in New York, it's like, it's not super clean cut. You call up a bus company and you get sort of like loose information about what it takes to rent their buses and all that. And then dealing with the city is really tough because
I bet.
your bus has to be licensed as a sightseeing bus. So there's that. Obviously, like COVID hitting meant you can't take people on tours of anything.
Yeah.
But that's like, I feel like saying like, oh, COVID was the hardest part is like, well, for everybody except Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like Costco.
Yeah, but even then,
Or
like
pizza, really. A lot of pizza was.
yeah, but at first,
Yeah.
like just at very first, it was like, oh my God, what? And then they're like, oh, we're totally okay.
Yeah.
But they're like, it's always terrifying when like suddenly, I don't know, an algorithm changes and your search terms don't bring you up for people as easily.
Yeah.
Or like TripAdvisor used to work differently than it does now. And it used to be, I was ranked in like their top 5 tours in New York or something. And that was great. But then when that algorithm changed and their whatever ranking changed, then suddenly things dry up. So those are huge challenges. But like you said before, they just end up being like new little learning curves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an
figure it out.
opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
How many employees do you have?
Now there's 10 of us.
Okay.
So there's me, there's someone who does the admin, like she does all the scheduling and admin stuff. And then there's a bunch of tour guides who all work part-time.
Okay. And how often are you actually on tours these days?
2 to 4 times a week.
Okay.
Yeah, I do every Sunday bus tour. And then I try to get the guides first dibs on other tours. And then if somebody can't do a tour, then I'll fill in. Or if like nobody's available for that private tour on the 26th, then I'll do it. Or if somebody requests, or if it's like an industry R&D trip,
Yeah.
then I'll do pretty much all those.
How many tours are there now? And how many tours were there when you started?
When I started, it was the 1 tour a week. And then maybe a month or 2 in, I started doing a walking tour once a week.
Yeah.
And then added maybe another one once a week. So we're talking about maybe 100 tours that first year. And now we're doing probably about 700 tours in a year, maybe a little bit more than 700,
Yeah.
with, 7 to 10,000 people in a year on those tours.
Huge.
Yeah, a lot more than
That's
before,
huge.
but not like, we don't send a bus out 3 times a day.
Yeah.
We have maximum 4 tours a day so that we can spread out neighborhoods so we're not clobbering restaurants.
Yeah.
Like we have such a great relationship with all the restaurants, partially because we like, rule number 1 is respect the restaurant.
Yeah.
And so we only operate in a way that helps them.
Yeah.
And like, I got a call 2 days ago from a place that's like super famous place. And they're like, hey, we start our tours 15 minutes before the first restaurant on the tour opens. So we can get in and get out before they're busy. But they're like, dude, we're getting busy right away. Can you bump all your tours up 15 minutes? They weren't like, oh, can you stop coming? They were like, oh, we'll just make it work for you earlier.
Yeah, of course.
But that's, I wouldn't say of course. I don't expect anybody to say that.
But you don't think they still want that business?
Well, but I don't expect.
They have a relationship with you now at this point too, where they probably don't want to let you down.
Yeah, but and that's
It's like a working relationship. Would you call it that with like a lot of the, yeah.
and a lot of it's a friendship. Like
Yeah.
when I wasn't doing tours during COVID, I would bike around and visit everybody, and it would just be like, just hang out, and it wasn't like get out of here, come back when you're buying pizzas.
Yeah.
But that's just because the relationship built up, and we're all like friends now.
Yeah. Well, how many actual, like, how many pizza tours outside of yours are there today?
There are
Like, is there competition?
yeah, but I think there's only one. So, okay, before I started doing it, there was a company called A Slice of Brooklyn,
Okay.
which is still around. But they do tours of Brooklyn, and every tour stops at 2 pizzerias in Brooklyn, like 2 very famous places. And then they also do other types of tours. And then there's a tour company. There are a bunch of tour companies that have like, oh, we have a chocolate tour, and we have a whatever, ghost tour. And then they have like a pizza tour option, which I've never taken one of those, but I think that they're all kind of like, go to the place, eat a slice. I don't know how much info that they're given.
Yeah.
But we're the only tour that's only pizza. Like the only company that's only doing pizza.
Is Bob's Pizza Tour here?
Bob's, that's the only other one, I
Yeah.
think.
That's New York?
Yeah, that's in New York.
Yeah, he says, he's like funny about it. I think it says like the second best pizza tour in New
Does it
York.
say that?
Yeah.
I've met them, but I've never taken that tour. Bob and a guy, Jack. And I think Bob lives in Baltimore now. Jack is
Okay.
in New York. He lives right near, actually, the last time I saw him was his birthday party at Brooklyn DOP.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a good place to have a birthday party.
Dude, the backyard.
Dude, it's so sick. That
Amazing.
space is sick.
Yeah.
You ever watch The Wire?
Never seen it.
So good, dude. You said Baltimore. It's really like all I can think
Oh,
about.
I was like, is Brooklyn DOP like The Wire? Because that's a weird thing to say.
No. But I bet Tommy watched The Wire. Maybe not. Well, how do you started this business, but it's now more than just like, a bunch of people. Actually, let me, because I want to ask this question before I forget. Do you ever think about like taking Scott's pizza tours and like, because so many people, I guess it can coincide with this next question. So many people in the pizza industry now, like whether you go to Austin or New Haven or like San Francisco, wouldn't you be able to kind of like, you have the formula here, and wouldn't you be able to curate Scott's Pizza Tour anywhere in the United States and grow the brand in that way?
Yeah, but I don't have any interest in building a regular business
Yeah.
in any other city.
Yeah.
Because I can't be there.
Yeah.
And to hire somebody to really rely on them having like passion and knowledge
Yeah.
in LA,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
The way that I like doing it is what I'm doing now, where I go do these little pop-up tours
Yeah.
once a year, just because like I know the people. I can do one in San Francisco. If you ask me to do one next week in San Francisco, I know I could do it.
Yeah.
It's like no problem. And that's why I do those, because it's fun.
Yeah.
And it gets me out to those places.
It's also good for the brand too.
Yeah. And it's like I get people on my tours from all those cities. So I had somebody on the tour this past Saturday. She showed up to the tour. She's like, I'm like, oh, what's your deal? Where are you from? She's from Austin. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to be in Austin in 2 weeks. She signed up for the tour like right then and there because, oh, you're going to be in my town? You'll show me and like teach me some of this stuff. That's the way I love doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's sick because then people don't actually have to come to New York to see you. They can just wait for you to come to them.
And New York is not like, I do the tours in New York because New York is where I live. I'm like from New Jersey. So like this part of the country is where my family really, our roots are.
Yeah.
But it's also because New York has a lot of diversity, a lot of history, a lot of like, it's got all the components.
Yeah.
Which you could do a pizza tour anywhere that has diversity of pizza styles and quality of pizza. And every place has history, even if they're not celebrating it.
Yeah.
I know people don't think about San Francisco as a historic pizza city, but like
They got
been
a lot of great
pizzerias
pizza.
since 1908,
Yeah.
maybe even earlier.
Yeah.
Like there's history
One of the
everywhere.
most historic cities in all of California.
Totally.
Yeah. You can feel it on that
I have
island.
family in the Bay Area, and we go out there at least once a year. And it's like,
We were talking about that because New York is so vast, and I would just forget how big it is because Los Angeles is big too, but it's obviously a sprawl. But San Francisco is the only city probably on the West Coast where you can kind of feel that that like like the closenesses of everything, like the way things are built in Brooklyn. You walk down the street, you know, in Los
it's
Angeles,
snug.
it's just fucking everyth's wide and there's shit all over the ground.
Yeah, but like, and then that's the beauty of all those different cities and why, like, it's so frustrating to me when people try to make any kind of battle about cities. But like, Los Angeles is designed in a way that's totally different from why New York and San Francisco were designed.
Yeah.
And like, those aren't negatives; those are like positives.
Well, no,
for those
everything.
places.
All three of those places are beautiful in their own way.
Yeah.
I just think that like there's the architecture here, how everything's built on top of each other.
Yeah.
Like there's so many.
alleys.
Yeah. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful. It's
Well, it's fun. I think it's fun here because you're basically you guys are driving around.
Yep, we're driving around. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. I've been this never has happened to me in LA. People have been blinking their lights at me, just fucking.
For doing
yeah.
what?
Dude, I don't know if I'm going too slow or like just because I have Georgia license plates, but I wish I had.
Everyone here has a non-New York license.
They are
plate.
fucking aggressive, dude. But I'm also, I didn't think, California is pretty crazy with their highways, but dude, to get to Jersey, I had to fucking get on so many different goddamn interstates. Anyways, it's scary out there.
It is scary. I apologize.
Oh, well, it's not your fault.
And this road, I almost texted you a warning about this street.
Yeah.
But I was like, they'll figure it out. This street's wild.
Yeah.
Because you have the train going overhead.
Yes.
And
I
so
thought
when
I
you-
was going the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, you may have been, but
Yeah.
you're here.
We made it. I don't know if we'll make it to Saturday. I called my wife and I said, if I die in this Hyundai,
Yeah.
it's been nice knowing you.
But it's like, well, it's because the city's
Find
not meant
Levi
for,
another dad.
It's like not, the city's not meant for cars.
Yeah. No, I know. That's apparent.
So that's why it's great. Like, if you were walking around, like, I hope you don't have to drive too
We did
much.
some walking and it felt good.
Where are you staying?
We're staying we're staying 2 blocks away from DOP.
Oh, like an Airbnb thing?
At a Hilton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I know exactly where you're staying.
Yeah, Hilton True.
You're right by. There's a barbecue place over there.
Mm-hmm.
There's Dinosaur Barbecue. The ribs are good. Nothing else.
Okay.
What's the place called? PDA Pizza Place.
It's called PDA.
It's called PDA.
All right.
Cool spot right over there.
All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. Pizza Secret is the Neapolitan place over there. It's really good. There's Feeney at Barclays Center.
Yeah, we plan on going to Feeney. Feeney Best and
Lindustry.
Lindustry are right next to each other. We're gonna hit those.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's awesome. So where you're staying is great because you can walk.
yeah. There's some walking power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That neighborhood's beautiful, and I hope you go up to Prospect Park a little bit.
We're gonna go we're going to Long Island tomorrow though in the morning to go talk to Rob Cervoni.
Oh,
Yeah.
I still haven't been out there.
Yeah. No, you've never been?
Never been.
Taglio? I always want to say
Taglio.
the G. Taglio?
Just keep saying that.
Taglio.
He'll love it.
That's what I'm gonna say the whole time. Dude, I love this Taglio. Mineola, I love it.
Yeah. I'm glad you're going out there. That's cool.
It'll be fun. And then and then we're talking to Augie Russo. We're talking to Augie
so glad.
tomorrow evening.
Augie's the best.
Yeah. I went on the Stanislaus Harvest with him and it was just a delight.
I wish I would have been like a little fly on the wall there, hearing him be like, "These tomatoes are, like, oh, I love it. These fields are really."
He's just one of those people that you like right away.
Well, he's totally genuine.
Yeah. Like a lot of people struggle being their authentic self. And
him.
Yeah.
He's
And
wearing speed goggles.
yeah, it's
every day, all day.
Horace Grant, dude.
He
wore speed goggles.
dude, that's the way to live.
Yeah, it is.
I love Augie. I can't say enough good things about him.
Well, I want to ask, you're the kingpin of the New York City pizza tour, but you have kind of been a staple in the pizza community. How did you make your name known? Like everyone, I'm old school, so like I've been around Pizza Expo for a very long time, and like kind of everyone kind of knows who Scott Wiener is. Like you've been pretty involved. You write for Pizza Today. You have a show on Thrillist. You're on the fucking History Channel talking about Domino's and Pizza Hut. Like you've been. You were on the show with Shaylin?
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, like how how the hell did all that happen? You're fucking one. Hold on. We pulled up. He's like, I'm just talking to Peter Reinhardt about NFTs. I'm like, okay. So like, you're
I just thought you would crack up at that.
Dude, I did laugh, but I was like, I want to know Peter Reinhardt. And I want to talk to him about NFTs. Like you're well established. So like, how the fuck did all of that happen?
Well, first I gotta explain. I don't know really anything about NFTs, so he's only calling me because I'm younger. That's it.
It sounded like you were explaining it pretty well.
Well, I know exactly enough that I think he needs to know. That's my maximum.
Yeah.
Is what he needs.
Yeah.
But then I'm done.
Yeah. They're like baseball cards on your phone that have no value yet.
Well, so first of all, like it is totally weird to me that all that stuff has happened. Like
Yeah.
it is not lost on me that that's the weirdest thing ever. But it started because my brother found a copy of Pizza Today magazine at a pizzeria in Avenel, New Jersey, and he pulled the card out and signed me up for a free subscription. And then I started getting it, and I started reading it, and then I started emailing Jeremy White because his email is right in the front page.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey man, I live in Hoboken, New Jersey. I visit pizzerias all the time, like the most naive email you've ever heard. I'm like, oh, and like let me know if you ever need anybody to write anything for you, because I'm based here and there's a lot of pizza here. You know, just let me know.
Was this prior to you having the tour?
Yes.
Okay.
This was 2006.
All right.
So I just sent him this crazy email, actually right around the same time that I had emailed Peter Reinhardt. I found his email somewhere and I was like, hey, I love your book. I'm thinking about writing a pizza book. Can you give me any advice? And like we had a back and forth way back, I think 2005, 2006. But Jeremy White wrote back, editor-in-chief of Pizza Today. And I think he had just started pretty recently, and he said like, we don't need anybody right now, but we're going to have an event in Atlantic City, a trade show. And let me know if you want to come. I'll like get you a press pass for that. And so I had been reading the magazines and then showed up at the event. And for whatever reason, I guess they needed somebody to fill in as a judge at a competition. And like this thing happened, which like should not have happened at all, was Jeremy was like, oh, you don't know anybody here. Can you judge this thing tomorrow morning since you don't know anybody and there won't be any like weirdness? And I was like,
Hell yeah.
no,
Were
I
you
was
scared?
like,
you were scared?
are you kidding me? I was
would've been like, fuck
I'm
yeah.
too young to peek. I was like, well, like that was like, I'm telling you, dude, that was one of my first thoughts because my dreams in life were like, I want to judge a pizza competition, which I didn't really know that was a thing. Yeah. But I was like, I want to judge a pizza competition. And like, you know, I had like a few things that I wanted to do. And then so the next morning I showed up and was like, I took it so seriously because I knew that like everyone's gonna be like, who the hell is this? Yeah. And so that was the first step. And then I developed a relationship with those guys just because I was there and I knew enough of what I was talking about. And then I just kept taking it more seriously. Yeah. And that was it. And then when I started the tour company, like a year or two later, they knew about it. And then they were like, oh, now that you are in the pizza business, we can hire you to write stuff for us. And that's when I started writing the column. Yeah. And I was like, I wrote that column, I think, for like 13 or 14 years. So,
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when
Time
you ask
flies.
about like being around and like how do I get involved in all those things, it's just been because I've been there. And I hope it's because I just like try my best and, you know, hopefully people just pick up on that. But there's not like, I never had any publicist or anybody like pushing me onto those shows or anything.
Yeah.
So when that stuff happens with the History Channel, it's really just, I even asked the producer, I'm like, by the way, why me? Like, how'd you find me? Like I got to be on the Tonight Show to like judge pizza on the Tonight Show. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how do you find me?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you're around. We know of you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, after enough time, enough people have taken a tour that somebody's friend is like, yo, there's this guy who like knows a lot about pizza.
This is the
him.
guy.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. It's like Scott Wiener, pizza historian. And it's also the best episode of like, what is it called? Made in America? What is that? That show is so fucking good. But that story
The
is
Domino's
so,
Pizza Hut one?
Well, yeah. the battle between them and Pizza Hut, and like how they really didn't know what the fuck they were doing, but like really kind of how their business models changed pizza forever.
Yeah.
It is if you haven't watched, and all the recreations are just such a fucking joke to watch if you know how to make.
Recreations are so goofy.
But it's so good. He's like on the phone, and then he comes up with the delivery, then it snaps to you, and you're like, yeah, at that point, like blah blah blah.
It's
Anyway,
so funny
go watch
to see
it.
that.
Yeah.
Well, when that came on, I obviously hadn't seen it, and I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna do with that interview, but the crazy part was that maybe 3 weeks ago, I did a pizza tour for John Bender and his family, one of the guys who started Pizza Hut. And
Fucking American royalty right there.
I have a copy of like the 50th anniversary Pizza Hut book,
Yeah.
like their history, and I had Dan Carney, one of the two brothers, had signed it. He sent it to me a couple of years ago. I interviewed him. He sent me a signed copy, and I brought it, and I was like, John, can you sign this? And he opens it up, and he saw Dan, his former business partner, had signed, and he was like, this is amazing. And I've got this book with both their signatures. It's like, for a pizza fan,
That's epic.
a fan of the history,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh. And then it's funny, his family was like, oh yeah, and we had this episode on this show, and I was like, yeah, I'm the guy who's on it talking about you guys.
Yeah, that was me. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild.
Well, is that kind of like just writing that one email, getting the business, because you've been involved now with judging for everyone competing. You have been you've been in charge or helped with the judging system at Expo. It seemed like through the years you're trying to make it better, you're trying to make it more fair. There's more competitors now. I do find that like I wish it was really just the same 3 or 5 people eating 90 slices, because it seems like everyone's palate is very different. But I mean, like, keeping that process fair. Is there a committee? Can you give any secrets or pointers to anyone?
I can give everything I can. Well, the first thing is, I started judging in 2006.
Yeah.
Like on a whim.
Yeah.
And then I kept coming back. And then there's never been an official committee that I've been on.
Yeah.
But I'm always a voice in the background being like, please let me know how I can help. You know, I'm not like, they haven't hired me to help do anything.
Yeah.
But it like kind of doesn't matter. Although like Pizza Expo people, if you want to hire me to do that, that'll be great. Otherwise, I'll probably just still do it anyway.
For free. Well, that's probably like, hey, don't worry about this. Scott's probably going to do this for free.
Well, they know. Yeah, it's true. Well, when I get a call from somebody who's running it, like Lamarca and Jeremy, and they're like,
great
hey,
dudes, by the way.
they're great.
Lamarca was on that. Lamarca was, no, it was Jeremy who was on that Stanislaus tour too. Yeah.
Jeremy
Good,
Galvin.
yeah, such a good dude.
When I get a call from him, it's like, so we have a question that came up about Neapolitan pizza in this category, and like we'll talk through how to best tweak the rules so that it is clear.
Yeah.
And like as a judge, I think because I'm like pretty approachable, so when I come out of judging and people get their scores, like everyone will come up to me and ask, why the hell did I get this score and why not? And I'll bring out my notes and I'll show them pictures and I'll say, here's why I scored it the way I did. Here's what I scored it. I took a picture of my score sheet. There it is.
Yeah.
Transparent as hell.
Yeah.
Boom. And then 99% of the time they're like, oh, you're right. There is a little undercooked, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in standardizing that whole process. Of course. And that's why you can't have 3 people tasting 500 pizzas. Yeah. But if we certify judges and make sure that the judges are all calibrated on the same scale, then you can't have one judge who's like, well, average is 5, great is 10, terrible is 1, and there's nothing in between. Yeah. And then another judge who's like, I don't give below a 7 because everyone showed up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying really hard to make sure that that's all standardized.
Yeah.
But the Expo does have like, they cancel out the top score, they cancel out the bottom score. They do have mechanisms for.
Yeah, because it's crazy. I've competed now a few times, and to see that like you score pretty high with 2 people, and then somebody just gives you like a 28, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, how do I get a 28 and I'm in the 40s on one? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
I agree. It's messy, but like, first of all, everyone's going to be upset.
Of course.
Besides the people who.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's of course.
But that doesn't mean that they're wrong. Second of all, it's not, it's a game. So if you make the best pizza that you make in your shop and everyone loves it at your shop and the judges don't like it, it's because this isn't your shop. It's not, you're making pizza for judges. And if you give a pepperoni and sausage pizza and that's what you're showing off, it's probably not going to land that great because everybody's throwing salty meats on a pizza.
Yeah.
And it's a game.
Yeah.
You got to remember, you're not the only pizza they're eating.
Yeah.
It might be an amazing pie, but if it's on palates that it might be their first pizza of the day, it might be their 20th.
Yeah.
The game
That's
is
what I'm
how to
saying.
excite them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's when you sign up for it, you read the rules, and you like have to be realistic about like that's the game. Now
Of
we're
course.
trying on the other side to make the game more uniform. And last year we standardized the rules.
Yeah.
We're making little tweaks to the rules this year. Like there were a couple of things that flew under the radar last year that were like, oh, that's a loophole. Damn. And we closed those up.
Yeah.
And then we have, of course, new competitions that they're adding for the Columbus show. So we got to make rules for those.
And is Columbus going to be next fall?
October 26, 27,
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be, and then we want to have a certification process so that if you're going to be a judge, you can't just be pulled off the floor like I was in 2006.
Yeah.
Like that should never happen. It should be people have been certified. And this way, like Alex is on the certified list. If he's not competing this year, then like, boom, he can be used as a judge. Nobody else can.
How many of these certified people are on the World Pizza Champions?
Doesn't really matter because it's all blind judging. I've heard this thing where people think that because the World Pizza Champions are so involved,
Yeah.
that there must be some kind of collusion or something. But I don't think it matters because it's blind judging. So nobody's going to know somebody else.
I'm just
made a
saying
pizza.
though, like if you know who's on that team, it's mostly that team. Just instead of just leaning on the World Pizza Champions. I'm just saying.
Are you saying that a lot of the judges are World Pizza Champions
what I'm
members?
saying.
Yeah, that's because it's hard to get judges.
Okay. People don't want to judge.
No.
Okay.
And so I did a seminar a couple years ago where I was explaining the judging. Here's how it works. Like I did a whole seminar at Expo that was like, I am a judge.
Yeah.
I've been judging for a while. Here's how I judge.
Yeah.
There's no secrets. Here's how it works.
Yeah.
Here's how we score. And then of course we've changed that over the years.
Yeah.
But and then at the end of it, I was like, I think I put up like a QR code and it was like, yo, fill out this form if you want to be a judge, because then we're gonna start certifying people.
Yeah.
I'd want more judges.
Yeah.
The dream is that we have enough judges that a judge eats like 10 pizzas and then they're done.
Yeah.
And then they come back the next day, they can do another 10.
Yeah.
But then all the judges have to read the same language. They all have to know that like, oh, these are flaws. These are things to look for that are flaws. I want to do a pre-judging round so that when the judges sit down, a pie hits the table, they all judge it, they all compare scores, they talk it through for 2 minutes, and then they calibrate.
You calibrate the judges. Yeah.
Yes, you got to,
Yeah.
because it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Without throwing shade, it's just like I know if you know the pizza maker and you know that pizza maker is judging your pizza, maybe it's kind of like, well, that doesn't seem really fair considering that pizza maker's pizza is trash.
Wait, you just tell me literally what you're talking about. No, dude, well, I'll put it this way.
I'm saying,
you can say anything.
I'm
but
not
like,
gonna drop names. I'm just saying.
you drop names after you can edit it out.
If Sammy
You can bleep. You guys can bleep.
Mandel is a judge,
Uh-huh.
and I find out that he's judging pizza, this guy makes a great product in Dallas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's good for what it is, maybe, but he should not be judging a traditional or best cheese slice because that's not what he does.
I think I hear what you're saying. So that's why. So first of all, you'll never know who's judging what time because we have 3 tables in the judging room.
Yeah.
And you don't. So you might see Sammy walk back there.
Yeah.
But you can't control when you're cooking.
Yeah. Of course.
So
of course.
you know what I mean. And you also have no idea if Sammy is gonna. There's a lot of bleeps. Should I just say bleep?
Yeah.
You don't know if bleep is gonna be at the table eating your pizza.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
I'm only using one name. There are
I
a
understand.
handful of people. It's easy because if they're part of they have to. It's easy because they're part of the. A lot of them are part of the expo. Okay,
Yeah.
so and if people aren't going to judge, then they're going to need judges.
Yeah.
But if you know personally that there's people out there judging your pizza, and again, I got to say this because you said it's a game.
Yeah.
To me, it is a game. To me, I have found more joy in competing and just being in the back, learning, talking shit, meeting people, having fun. That to me is the purpose of competing. Winning is great for your ego and good for your business, but it is not the point of competing. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm alluding to is if you don't maybe have a fair amount of respect of the craft that somebody.
That's a good phrase. Let me write that down.
I'm trying to speak.
should tattoo it.
I'm trying to speak in pizza terms, and I don't want to be mean.
I think I know what you're saying.
I'm trying not to be mean.
No. What we were saying, which I totally agree with, which is why we want to create certification per style.
Yeah.
So the thing is, we can't go to 0 to 60 in 1 year.
Yeah.
So that's why year one, we standardize the rules. I think people are all really happy with the rules. We have a code of ethics that every judge has to sign.
Yeah.
And it makes it very clear that if you know who made that pizza, you got to recuse yourself.
Yeah.
If there's any way to know, which who knows?
Yeah.
A ton of that code of ethics is you can, as a competitor, you should see the rules and the code of ethics and everything that the judge sees.
Yeah.
There should be nothing that's only visible to one side.
Yeah.
The other thing is so the next step is certification. And then the step after that is style by style certification.
Yeah.
But that also gets really tough because, how tightly do you define Neapolitan or New York style? Or they have all these words flying around like traditional, which are like really tough to get a lasso around words like that.
Yeah.
So my vision of it as a person who is not paid, not officially on any of those things.
Yeah.
Like my hope for it, which is as a non-operator, non-member of any pizza team,
Yeah.
very much independent, is that those things will be standardized as best we can because that's the best way to serve a competition.
Of course.
In the world, I don't think there's any rules for pizza making.
Yeah.
But in a competition, you need that. So that's why
I would agree with that completely, but there is no rules in making pizza. But when you are entering a category that has rules, there are now rules to that competition.
But that's the competition. The
Yes.
competition's not real life.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's why-
It's a game.
But it is
Yeah.
you all have to be honest. Everyone has to be honest with themselves about that. That's a game.
Yeah.
Because if you treat it like I make the pizza I do at home, and if the judges hate it, they're wrong because my customers buy so much of it. Great, but why did you need to enter the competition?
For fun.
But
For fun, and you should have that attitude.
But it's way more fun, I think, if you're like, how can I surprise the judges and entice them?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I am of the
Except
mindset.
Neapolitan.
I am of the
Neapolitan
mindset that I would actually rather, if I'm not going to go to a competition and not make something that I wouldn't serve somebody in my shop. So I'm the guys, and I'm gonna be in non-traditional, but it's gonna be a traditional, like a vodka pie or something. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the smart thing to do, because then if you win, you want to be able to sell it. And if you win with some kind of foie gras pizza that you're never going to be able to sell
people
to people.
put that on their fucking menu though. They win, and then like the guy from D-Town Pizza, Ryan, he won in 2022 with Wagyu and like golden shit, and he sells $100 pizza because that's what he won.
He sells it for $100.
True, but he's selling
And he
it
probably
because
makes-
that's the world. Yeah,
How many
well,
does he make a week?
that's a good question. I should have asked him that, but he sells it. That's for sure. I mean, influencers love it.
Great.
Yeah.
Fine.
I would just say for me, it's more fun to be like, I'm gonna make a sausage, peppers, onions, and then let's see where it
See how it
goes.
goes.
Does it? Oh, I got 28. Great. I got 32 last year, so like that's a huge up. I don't beat myself up about it because I think it is supposed to be a fun thing.
It should be fun. And
should
that's
be
why
fun.
when people get all antsy in the pantsy afterwards, and then they start to like, oh, well, they judged it and they hate me and whatever, that's always weird. When it's the low score out of all the judges, Expo knocks out the top and the bottom.
Yeah,
And like, that's all in the rules.
yeah,
So when you're saying about when you go to compete, there are rules and that creates a classification.
Yeah.
That's because like if we don't make those rules, then people, oh, well, you added basil and nobody else thought that they could. I don't want to deal with any of that. I wanted to have explicit. Here's what you can do, or here's prohibitions, and then boom. Anything that's not prohibited is allowed.
yeah.
Keep it easy.
Yes, easy, and I think it is pretty straightforward. I still do think that, though, if you're making pizza, you don't get a good score, but your neighborhood loves you, you're winning. It's supposed to be fun.
And that's why, like, when you enter the competition, you should know what it is.
100%.
It's a game. It should be fun.
It's a fun time to get creative if you
Yeah.
want to go that route and get a little kooky.
You should get kooky.
Yeah,
but
a
also
little
it's a
kooky.
challenge because you're in a 65-degree room
Yeah.
with 100,000-foot tall ceilings and like
They're always like 45 minutes to 30 minutes early or 45 minutes late, so your proofing's going to be a little off.
but that's why it's a game. It's
Yep.
like you got to practice, you got to like, you know, I think that they're really fun. but
Definitely use the Mariforni because Drew's there. He'll cook your pizza perfectly.
it's fun to like I think when people go for the first time, they should just like watch the competition. And then
That's what I did. I remember like I'd gone to every single seminar that I could have for 2 years. And you know as well as I do, they don't change that much. So it was
now they're changing a lot.
well, cool. I can't
Finally.
wait. I can't wait for that. But it had kind of gotten a little boring because I had seen it so many times, or thought that I had seen it. There's plenty to see there. Anyways, I sat on the
Well, the
competition.
show is
I sat on the competition floor and I was like, shit, everyone's here. Like all the dudes are here, the girls are here, everyone that I see in the magazines, this is where it's happening.
yeah, and you just watch what they're doing, and you're like, oh, that's an interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought to do like 5% different from what you normally do, and that's
Well, that's where I was
fun
like, dude, I
tweak.
don't need to be in these rooms. I'm actually watching some of these people make pizza. And I was like, just sitting there like in notes on my phone being like, all right.
Well, I think it takes like for going to Pizza Expo, I think it takes 2 or 3 years of going to like settle into your groove.
Yeah.
Because it's so overwhelming year one.
Yeah.
You gotta make choices. And like, I'm gonna go to that dough seminar and I'm gonna even the thing that you think you're too good for, like go to that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because then you pick up on.
I agree.
I go to the pizza crust boot camp, which they do every year.
Yeah, I did that one.
I always go for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think I probably went 2 or 3 full times to the 2-day thing, but then for 20 minutes, and I always pick up on some, like, oh,
Something you missed. Yeah,
little
there's
tiny-
always something. There's definitely things
yeah.
there.
But then once you go through that stuff, then now they're changing up, and I know they're changing up a lot because every year they send me. They're like, oh, throw us some names of seminars that you would want to run, and I also pitch other people's seminars. So people who email me, oh man, I really want to speak, and if it's like a really cool thing, I'll pitch theirs, and then they'll come back and be like, and I always pitch different things, and they'll say, oh, do that one, and can you do this other thing? Here's the title. Can you do that? And so
All right, I pitched
That's
to
my
Jeremy.
fun
Next
thing.
time I'm emailing you in June.
do it.
Be
Do it
like,
in March.
Hey, yeah.
I start doing it like a week after the.
Yeah, they say they basically have it booked for Vegas by like early August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's booked now, but like, I don't know. I always feel like there might be wiggle room.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Because again, like I'm not involved in that part. but
Yeah.
I'm close enough that I can push some recommendations,
Mm-hmm.
and if they don't want to listen, then fine.
Yeah.
But I want to see things that are like more panels, more modern stuff.
I love panels because it's a little easier to stay engaged when there's when it turns into basically like a fluid conversation and less of a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Like I love those.
I don't like PowerPoint.
No, I mean I've seen some good PowerPoints. Don't listen.
Bausch.
Respect the journey.
Word up, Mike Bausch.
Yeah. Bausch has just got energy, dude. That guy showed up at our hotel room, did that pod at 7 a.m. He was dropping just knowledge.
I love it.
Yeah.
Room 2112.
That's right. You already know. We
know,
had
man.
some
The
legends up
Rush
there.
album.
Dude, that's well, we kind of skipped over this part. How did you just get like a Thriller show with like one of like the hardest reservations to get Mr. Lucali?
I'm telling you, every one of these things, it just because I'm around and I really just focus on the thing that I do,
Yeah.
and somehow it's all incoming. I've never pitched anything. Like I don't own that show. They came to me and were like, "Oh, would you be up for hosting this thing? We think we're also going to ask Mark from Lucali. Do you know him? Okay, great. Show up next Wednesday and we're going to start filming." Like that's how it went. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of the idea.
Yeah.
And on day one, it was just like, all right, we're going to go and eat this gold pizza. I think it was day one.
Yeah.
no idea what was going on. And then me and Mark, like we already have that relationship.
I mean, it's like a nice dynamic, you know, like, oh, silly Scott, and then like, oh, serious Mark. And it's like, is it pizza?
And it's fun because like, I loved food shows.
Yeah.
That's part of why I started the tour, was because I thought like, this should be like a live action food show. You should be like, you should be the camera. Everyone on that tour should be the camera.
Yeah.
Going into the kitchen, meeting the operator, meeting the pizza maker, and then you get to actually eat. How cool is that? So, but then I started getting really tired of food shows because it was always like, I'm here at blah, blah, blah. You got to get this. And here's how they do it. And then I take a bite and I go, mouth watering. Which is my least favorite word.
Generic.
Yeah. And so when they pitched that show and it was just like, we're going to have you guys go and debate whether or not things are pizza.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. Because that sounds like not a normal show.
Yeah.
And then the editor for that, a guy named Chris Murphy, was the editor. When you watch that, you can see like the editing is what makes that show. It's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, but it's a good dynamic. What is it?
It's so fun.
Yeah.
But that's the way me and Mark are.
Yeah.
Like if you're with us, then it's like the show. Like whenever we go there, it's like him kind of picking on me and then me giving it back to him. It's just like the way we are.
Yeah. Laurel and Hardy.
It's so fun.
Batman and Robin.
I mean, we got married in his backyard at Lucali, and the whole time during the vows, he's 5 feet behind my wife, kind of like looking at me and like giving me the bird.
Just
and, like,
roasting you?
Yeah.
Non-verbally?
Seriously.
Yeah.
There's like 20 of us in his backyard, and he's sitting there staring at me, flipping the bird, and I loved it.
Yeah. That sounds like that's really nice of a friend at a wedding.
He's just really funny.
Yeah.
He's like the funniest guy ever. You've met him, right?
I've never met Mark, no.
He's so funny.
He seems like a funny dude. Do you have a favorite person in pizza?
Person? No.
No, there's not like one shining star that you would say like this person has like helped me or like has been like the best to me or like I wouldn't be here without this person.
Well, John Arena he's my number one.
Yeah.
It's hard to, only because like there's so many people who are so amazing. Roberto Caparuccio was probably the first person who ever like, he felt that I wanted to learn. And the first time I went to Naples, he sent me to meet up with people he knew.
Yeah.
Tomato farms, buffalo mozzarella factories, like flour mills. Like I went out because of him. John Arena, I met him at Pizza Expo, and within 10 minutes of meeting him, he was like driving me to his pizzeria to go take his pizza making class. And now we are like very, very close friends.
Yeah.
And both those guys were at our wedding. Like there's a certain few people who are like that, where there's a real friendship beyond
Business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also they've like, when I'm doing like history research, John is my first call.
Yeah.
I'm like, John, you never believe this. I found this ad and now I'm questioning everything about the universe. And he's the guy who's like rooting for me. He's like, wow, I didn't expect that. Go check that out.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Tony G obviously is like, but for everybody, like, there's no more open hands than his.
Yeah.
And you, by the way, seriously,
Hey, thank
I
you.
love your
Appreciate
podcast.
That. Thank you.
Like no nonsense. Right when you started doing it, I was like, this is an awesome perspective that we don't get to hear. And you ask all these real questions, even to me asking like, well, what about getting insurance and starting this pizza tour? Like stuff that people who want to get into the business, like they need to hear that stuff and not just like talking about how high is your hydration.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, if like 2017, Alex saw this, his mind would be blown just because like, to me, you're like a pizza celebrity. So when I met you at the young entrepreneur thing, like I was already nervous, but that just really made me even more nervous. I
totally remember meeting you there.
Yeah.
And Shaylin introduced us. And I remember meeting you there. And I remember you went up and gave that crazy presentation.
Uh-huh. Yes, I did.
Woo! F-bombs flying everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that's not going to be good.
It wasn't, dude. That's why Pizza Today probably wants nothing to do with me.
I've always wondered if you had like some kind of grudge about that, but the whole time I've been just like, you were nervous, and also you were like, I think probably felt very much like an underdog.
Yeah, of course I did.
And a lot of that is like,
It came out in a way which I wish I could have controlled my 33-year-old self, but I'm never gonna stop asking to be involved with Pizza Today. I hope I didn't like burn any bridges, but that day, it's like cool meeting people like you and like doing stuff like this. It's and you were so responsive too. I'm sure you're a fucking very busy person, so we appreciate it.
are you kidding me? I found you when you were doing a competition and had to interrupt you to tell you that I loved your show.
Yeah.
In March of the year you started.
Yeah, it means a lot. Thank you.
It's no joke.
And thank you.
And it's like, I only do what I do because of people like you. Like, I am just a professional fan of you. Like, that's everything I do in the pizza industry is as a fan of people operating pizzerias. I don't do what I do at all without pizzerias.
Well,
that's what I do.
Now that you like make pizza and you're at the pizza school, do you now like make your own pizza and you're like, wow, this guy's pizza sucks? Because you're No. Good. That's the answer I wanted. I mean, because we haven't even talked about that. You're like a full-on instructor at the pizza university.
That's another thing that like I think just from like it's so like when you list off all these things, it really makes me be like, I don't think I've ever heard an announcement. That was exciting. But like listing off all that stuff, I'm just like, yeah, how the heck did that all happen? But it's all just all of it is organic.
Yeah.
And becoming a pizza maker was something that I resisted for a while because I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I run these tours, and what if I make a crap pizza? Well, then it's all like lose any credibility I'd have. And then when I started getting into it, I just got to be so much better at doing what I do on pizza tours. So,
well, of course, because you can look, you're like explaining the structures of slices and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I
like you understand a crumb structure, fermentation. I mean, I've seen some of your your home videos.
Yeah,
like you have an understanding of dough that maybe 70% of pizza makers don't have.
Well, because I have to, because I have had like we're talking about when you were at the young entrepreneur thing and like. The like feeling of inadequacy and the imposter syndrome and all that stuff, which which I think is super healthy. And I hope I always have imposter syndrome because it like from day one, I knew that there's going to be people on this tour who are like, what's this 26-year-old twerp who hasn't bathed in a while? Like, what is he going to teach me? He's not Italian.
Yeah.
He's not overweight, which a lot of people want to see, like that's a pizza fan. Like,
I know.
I'm just being honest. Like, I'm not from New York, and I'm very like verbal about that, vocal about that, and so I had all this chip on my shoulder about that. So I'm like, well, I got to be 10 steps ahead of everybody on the tour, and if they throw something at me that's like a little throwaway, I have to be able to come back with like, they might mean something as a sarcastic quip, but I have to come back with, oh, it's actually interesting you bring that up because here are some actual facts that'll help.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up. It's
good.
Good.
So you don't have to be an asshole. You just get to be an asshole.
Well, I get to be like, show them that they're wrong or jerky.
Yeah.
Without,
you kill them with kindness.
Basically, like, I don't want to put them down.
Yeah.
Because everybody's coming from a different place.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's coming from their own place and you can't, I don't know. But I also know that I'm the underdog on those tours, or at least maybe more recently, not so much. Yeah. The balance has shifted a little bit. Yeah. Because now when they show up, they know. They're like, oh, I'm here because I've taken you to tour 5 times. Yeah. Or I saw that YouTube video. Yeah. But making pizza made me like infinitely better at teaching people about it. And now teaching at Pizza University is like, when I'm teaching with Giulio Adriani and John Arena, or Jonathan Goldsmith sometimes, or Peter Reinhardt, like I'm kind of the organizer. Yeah. I just kind of keep everything moving. Yeah. And I can execute, but like, you know, when you're in the room with the giants, you kind of step into the right spot. Yeah. But also since I'm a professional educator with this stuff, I know when somebody in the group asks a question, I think I'm pretty good at understanding why they're asking it. Yeah. And then getting to the answer that will help them the best. Yeah. Because on a tour, somebody will raise their hand and ask, what's the hydration of this place's dough? And then like you right away understand that they got a rock box 2 years ago, that they read flour, salt, water, yeast, and the elements of pizza. And then they bought Dan Richards' book, The Joy of Pizza, and they have the Pizza Bible because they mentioned diastatic malt, and you're like, Pizza Bible, okay, respect the craft.
Yeah.
Like, and know that, and then I can make a calculation about how to answer it in a way that everyone else who does not have those credentials, they can understand.
Yeah. When you're in a room full of giants, obviously easy to have imposter syndrome, but I would say, I don't know about you, but I wish that I was just a little less self-aware, because in this industry, I think you can agree. I'm sure you've met these people that just have no self-awareness, you know? And sometimes I think a little less self-awareness would be good for everyone. So I'm just saying, everyone out there.
Wait, what do you mean? Less self-awareness?
Like not being so self-conscious about your food, or like how much you know, or like people, I meet people all the time, and I do it sometimes myself, where it's like I second guess myself, even though I've been doing this longer than a lot of people. And it's sometimes it can feel scary to be around certain people, but I've met people that are so much smarter than me that were afraid to tell me they were smarter than me. Like, I just don't think you should ever be afraid or self-conscious, especially if you know you're right in pizza.
Yeah, I think, well, you asked a question to, who was it, Peyton?
What's the difference between confidence and arrogance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, like, now I see where your brain is going with it, and it's like, confidence is good.
Yeah.
And I think, like, the general arrogance comes off as bad, confidence comes off as good in most people.
But most people don't know that they're arrogant. It's like this they're not self-aware of how they're acting.
You can never change that.
Yeah.
I don't know, are you trying to change that for people?
I mean, if I could tell somebody, hey, listen, dude, you're a fucking prick, and you're my friend, I'll tell them that. And
If they're your friend.
yeah. And I think that, like, more people need to hear that. And there's, on the other spectrum of things, people need to be like puffed up. Some people need to be gassed up, because it's like, yo, I had so many musician friends that like never did anything because they thought they were terrible, but like they played guitar better than anyone I had ever met. I mean, there was obviously other problems like motivation and stuff, but some people just never give themselves the credit that they deserve. Or it's like, yeah, it's okay. It's like, no, dude, you know, deep down inside, you know this is great. You know what you're doing is great, and like it's okay to tell other people that this is great.
Or that you're proud of
Yeah,
something.
that you're really proud of it. But I think also that comes with just fear. You know, once you kind of put yourself out there and say, I'm really proud of this thing, I love this thing, I'm good at this thing, and the minute somebody says 1 star or no, it's not, your balloon gets deflated.
Well, and that's when you know somebody's like a real person, when like the one bad review keeps you up for a week.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's the worst.
Yeah.
But that's why I really feel like you should never try not to miss an opportunity to tell somebody something good.
I
And
agree.
It's really hard because, like, in our lives, you just like, sometimes people feel awkward about pausing and saying, hey, just like, I really like this thing you're doing. It takes a lot of energy to do that. But I try to consciously do that because there's so many people, like when you started doing the podcast, like I was really psyched that I could see you for a second and be like, this is really cool. I like this.
Yeah,
One
and
person's thought.
you doing that, grabbing me, saying that meant a lot to me. And that's like, oh shit, fuck, dude. That's like, it makes you feel like you're doing something good. And it could that one thing, you don't know how is going to affect somebody for maybe that day, that week, or the rest of their lives. And I couldn't agree more. It's like what's the Kanye line? Give them their
George
roses
Bush
or
hates
whatever.
black people?
No, there's many Kanye lines, but it's basically like, don't give somebody their roses. Don't wait to give somebody their roses until they're dead. And it's
a good line.
You're right though. So many times, like even just my team members, it's like, why didn't I take them aside and just tell them how fucking dope that was that they did that? Because it's like sometimes it seems like, oh, we're busy or whatever, or even with my wife, you know, like. I think we could all do that a little bit more. Spread a little kindness.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard, but like it costs you nothing.
Yeah.
And it's easy, and it's also I think it feels good to like let somebody know that they're doing something great. Like
Yeah.
I work with a few people who run tours with me. One person at Slice Out Hunger, Aaron, and I try to like as hard as it is to run businesses and all that stuff. There's telling somebody they're doing a great job really goes a long way.
Yeah.
And if you're genuine about that and you're not just doling it out nonstop, then it really is meaningful.
Yeah.
It costs nothing.
Yeah.
So I never miss an opportunity to like tell someone that they're doing something that you like.
Yeah, that's great advice. Before I forget, Slice Out Hunger. How the hell did that happen? You were fucking all over the place. I don't know. You don't sleep, dude.
Nah, I gotta sleep more. Slice Out Hunger was the first year that I ran tours. At the end of that year, a friend of mine offered to like let me run an event in her travel agency space in Greenwich Village. And I used that to run a little pizza party where we'd get like maybe 10 or 20 pizzas donated from local pizzerias, Joe's, John's, like the places on Bleecker Street. And rather than just give my friends free pizza, I was like, oh, we'll make them pay $1 per slice. And then my company will match every dollar and we'll send a check to City Harvest, which is a food collection. Like they pick up unused food and they redistribute it to shelters.
Yeah.
And so we did that party and it was awesome. And then the next year we did it again and people showed up like around the block. And then that grew and became this annual event called Slice Out Hunger. And then in 2015, enough people in the pizza industry were asking me about like, oh, you should come do that by us. And because I knew all those people everywhere, I figured, well, it's kind of a waste of those relationships to not turn Slice Out Hunger into something nationwide. So it started off as an outgrowth of the pizza tour company because like, you know, I used to like book rock shows and like promote shows and stuff like that. And I would always run charity shows. It's always been really important to me to have community support be a part of any business. So even when I didn't know I was running a business and it was like doing rock shows in Syracuse, New York, it was always like, no, well, let's do this and raise money for some local arts organization because why not?
Yeah.
I'll be living for free on a boat one day. So, you know what I mean? Like, you know, that's the trade-off.
Yeah.
But so when I started the pizza tour business, my thought was always like, well, on the tour, we treat food like it's entertainment, which is okay.
Yeah.
You're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But you also have to be conscious of the fact that a lot of people can't afford to do that, which doesn't make you bad for doing it.
Yeah.
It just means that if you have some balance and you respect that, so Slice That Hunger became a way for me to insert some balance to like, we can treat food like entertainment, but let's use the momentum of people's interest in pizza and push it towards something really positive.
Yeah.
So let's use restaurants to fight food insecurity. And the way we do that now is we have this network of 800 pizza partners across the country who are basically any pizzeria that has pledged to donate at least 30 pizzas per year to any local shelter or soup kitchen or to raise $300 a year for any shelter or soup kitchen.
Yeah.
Not for us.
Yeah.
Stay local. We're all about community support. So now we have about 800 partners, and the idea is that those all become the engine to support their own communities. And anytime we run fundraising, 100% of the money we take in goes out to our beneficiaries because our overhead is covered by corporate sponsors. So we have companies come in and basically pay the bills, and this way we can like operate.
Well, it's pretty incredible. I mean, I've participated only 1 year. I know a lot of places that like try to help out. You just did the thing on the pier. Was that this summer?
Yeah, pizza on the pier. We get like a bunch of ovens and we invite because we have all these friendships with these pizza people. We got like 30 some odd pizza makers out on the pier, all cooking in, you know, ovens sitting out on the pier. And then people can buy tickets to get in and enjoy pizza from all these like all-star pizza makers. So it's like fantasy for me to see all the pizza makers together working together.
Didn't you do something like that old school, like in a gymnasium years ago?
We still do that.
Yeah.
You would love
like
it.
A bunch of like places you can just like get a little slice and try all these places in one room.
So that's our dollar pizza party.
Yeah.
We get 60 pizzerias to all bring 20, 30, 40 boxes of pizza.
Yeah.
And we sell it for $1 per slice.
Yeah.
So you go into the gym, you put down, I don't know, 10, 20 bucks, you get you get a ticket for every
Are
dollar.
they like double cut or whatever?
No. We don't make rules about that.
Okay.
In fact, I would like them to be full cuts.
Okay.
We assume that they're full cuts.
Got it.
They usually are. But it's $1 per ticket, and it's a ticket for every. Coke is a sponsor, so you can get Coca-Cola products. Every pizzeria is there, so you can trade in a ticket for a Lucali slice or a best pizza slice. And raffle prizes, and it's just like fantasy event. All like 60 great pizza makers.
Yeah.
All the owners are there because they get to hang. And it's just like crazy fun. Usually 3-hour event, and we raise anywhere from $50,000 to $90,000 in that
That's
night.
fucking sick.
It's
And it's like a
fantasy.
rat. I would literally die. I only said half because I'd want to eat 20 slices. You know.
And they're all in a box.
Yeah.
That are not hot.
Yeah,
Like, there's all these.
I would. That's how I like to enjoy it. After like the cheese is congealed and like
fine.
I can get it
Well,
all.
what we do it near like NYU.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you get a pizza box when you come in.
Yeah.
You fill it up.
Yeah.
And then you take it home.
Yeah.
And then you heat it up for the next month.
For the next month.
I mean, whatever.
freeze
Like
that shit.
people come in and they drop
fucking
$50,
eat that. Yeah.
$100, and it's just so like it takes so much work.
Yeah.
I have PTSD about that event, but when it's happening, it's like so fun.
Yeah. Well, you do that. You got the event you do in Vegas. Like you.
Yeah,
It's just cool that you're doing all that stuff.
Slice Out Hunger does all well because once you have a 501c3,
Yeah.
and you've got to like, oh God, once you have a 501c3 and you got to like, pay staff and I don't know, it just once you start the ball rolling, you have to
Keep it going.
keep it going. And now that we have all these ideas for stuff to do in the future, so hopefully that snowball gets bigger.
We got a thing we're doing. It's overrated or underrated.
Oh yeah, you just started this.
Yep. This is Brent. You're the fourth person. So I'm going to hit you with a couple things. You tell me if they're
ready.
overrated or underrated. So overrated or underrated burrata.
Overrated.
Overrated.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my reasoning is because the thing that people love about it is the stracciatella. So stracciatella is not overrated, but burrata is. And it's because the outside, the mozzarella part of it, is not the highlight of the burrata. And I'm thinking of this in terms of pizza.
Yes,
The
that's
thing
what
that
we're
people-
talking about. Yeah.
The thing that you want on the pizza is the stracciatella.
Okay. Which now that Grande has it out is going to be on everything,
Yeah.
even though it was already on everything.
Well, what I love is these companies like Grande, and I think Belljoy also has it, and they're marketing it as burrata filling. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's funny, but I get it. Like, they're smart marketers.
Yes.
It's stracciatella. It already had a name.
Yes.
Call it burrata filling. Fine.
You gotta put it in crude layman's terms, you know?
I'm 100% with that. But yeah, burrata is overrated.
Okay. Overrated, underrated, hot honey.
Underrated.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that in our bubble, like hot honey is nothing new, but it's a small bubble. And there's a lot of people out there who have no idea what it is. Because I get them on tours, and every day people say, this place does a pizza with pepperoni and spicy honey. You've never seen that. And I'm like, I've actually seen it probably 3 trillion times. But that's in the bubble. I think on the planet, underrated.
I couldn't agree more. Once a day, somebody's like, "What the fuck? This is insane."
Yeah. And I haven't, wait, you didn't bring any hot sauce, did you? Zabs?
No. Damn, I would have put some in my.
Every time I hear you talk about it, I want it.
It's delicious, all around. Their hot honey is just.
I've seen their chili sauce, but not the honey.
The hot honey is the depth on that honey is just. It's like a
want it.
different kind of spice too. Okay, underrated, overrated. Domino's pizza delivery tracker.
Overrated. It's not accurate. I worked for Domino's in 2012 when that had just come out, I think a couple years before that. And in between doing pizza tours, I got like a moonlighting job at Domino's just to so I could answer the question on tours about like what's up with Domino's.
Yeah.
And I was the delivery guy at first. And it was wild because it wouldn't use my name, and then the tracking would be different. And because I had my roommates ordered and I was delivering it, and they're like, "You're not Jesus." And also like they took the time of what was happening on the tracker, and I was like, that is not accurate.
It was so fun
This
to
was
watch
12
when
years
it
ago.
came out, though.
I know, but it's fun to watch for you. But I'm just saying, I think it might even be perfectly rated,
Okay.
just because it's genius.
I think it was maybe ahead of its time, but it's interesting to hear that it was incredibly inaccurate. But so is
12
Postmates
years
order
ago.
traffic.
I don't know
Order.
anything about it.
You never do Postmates?
No,
You only pick up. Uber Eats?
we don't. No, we almost never get food delivered.
That's
Cooking,
good.
baby.
That's good.
Cooking, baby. You guys want to come over for tofu tonight?
You're just doing just tofu?
I don't even.
I think we're going to go
Green
to
beans.
Felix's pop-up.
Where's he doing it?
I think it's at the Hammer Brewery or
Yeah.
something.
Okay. Fifth Hammer.
Yes. Okay. L'Industrie. Overrated, underrated.
It's a tough one because I love it. I think it's awesome. But I think a lot of people build up expectations about it and expect it to like change their lives. And a slice of pizza can never live up to like the hype that I think Lindustry has been developing. So I actually think it's perfectly rated. I don't know if that's an option for me, but it's not. I don't think it's underrated, but I do not think it's overrated.
Okay.
Because it's awesome.
Okay.
You've had it?
No, we will have it, but it's tough to have an organic experience when there is so much anticipation and hype about something. When so many people have said a movie is this good, or it's going to be tough
from your brain.
But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good at just eating something and knowing this is very good, and I'm sure it will be. I mean, you can look at pictures of food and be like, that's going to be a phenomenal slice.
I mean, I think that they are at the highest level of execution of a pizzeria, at least as a slice shop, and probably as any pizzeria.
All right, the last one, and some say a very controversial one. Overrated, underrated, pineapple on pizza.
Underrated.
Yes.
Totally. Easy. I don't understand why people have such a problem with I think most pineapple pizzas are bad, but pineapple on pizza is the promise, the possibility. And I think that pineapple can be great on pizza. And the reason that you haven't had a good experience is because you haven't had it treated with respect. And a pineapple cannot be treated the same way that red peppers or chunks of sausage are treated. You don't just like throw it on the pizza.
Yeah.
I really think the best execution of pineapple is like when you pay attention to, how pineapple is sinuous. You like lean into that and like roast it, shred it, and like
get a little
clump it.
acidity out. Yeah.
I love a white pie with pineapple.
White pie with pineapple, and that's crazy.
Get the tomato out of here. We don't need it because
the acidity.
we're going to be adding lemon juice and lemon zest, whipped ricotta, low moisture mutz, chorizo, pineapple, but I want to toss the pineapple in some of the honey and chili flake or hot honey or whatever.
Yeah.
Add that after the cook, and then lime zest and lime juice after. And that's
go. That's a competition pizza right there.
You can have it. I just like when people have
knowledge.
People don't have problems with pineapple pizza. They just haven't had a good one.
Yeah.
And if they have something like internally against it, that's
their own thing.
That's their problem.
Yeah.
It's okay.
This is off the top of my head, but one more. Underrated, overrated, having your own world record.
Overrated?
No way, dude.
I have to pay for this storage space. Like these
Pretty
boxes
cool,
don't make any money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, because people don't understand that to get a Guinness World Record, you pay for it. Although there was a little loophole when I got mine. And then, you have to maintain it. Like once you have, like, I'm not slowing down collecting, but it's a bit of a burden sometimes.
Yeah.
It's my greatest joy, but it can be a burden.
Well, it made for a pretty good set.
Yeah, I thought you guys would have fun. Like, you're in pizzerias all the time.
I feel like I can see like maybe one or two of my boxes in here.
I definitely have one of your boxes in here. Wait, whoa. Hold on. I got gloves.
Can I talk? Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
You don't touch them?
We don't touch them.
Holy shit,
Got
really?
gloves up there, yeah.
Well, I'm just
Those oils on your hands.
Really?
Bears.
I'm sorry.
But feel free to grab some gloves and
How many pink boxes do you have?
there's one right there.
There's one right there.
From a place in Canada.
There's one right there.
I definitely have, I think, one of your boxes.
What's your oldest box? I definitely sent you a purgatory box.
Yeah,
The
with
black
the
one.
black
Yeah,
box with the
praying
hands. Oh, I know every box. Oldest box, well, I think I have older than this. Oh, the Rocketeer 1992 Pizza Hut box. That might be somewhere over here. Remember when the personal pan pizzas?
Yeah.
Pizza Hut had that Rocketeer thing?
Yeah.
And then Pizza Hut 1999 Star Wars Episode 1. Anakin
Are any
Skywalker,
of
Jar
these
Jar
worth
Binks.
money?
It's worth a lot of money. It's worth a lot of money. Somebody should buy the collection. Well, when I went to get them insured, the insurance company was like, well, we need to find an expert in the field to create a value. And like, you're the only person.
And they found you.
Well, I'm like, I'm the guy getting it. They're like, well, so you just have to tell us how much they're worth.
You're like, yeah, this is $100,000.
That's what I said.
Yeah. All right.
So And that's mostly that Jar Jar Binks box.
Yeah.
That's a
Misa Jar Jar
$90,000.
Binks.
Please don't say that.
Misa Jar Jar. It was so bad. Scott, dude, thank you for taking the time
No,
for
thanks for
showing
coming.
this and for sharing everything you did today.
My pleasure. You guys are welcome back to the storage space anytime.
Yeah, can I sleep
I'll
in
be
here?
You can. So
I'll put gloves on. I swear.
there's a reason they don't have power in here. There's no like.
It's pretty warm in here.
I was shocked. I thought it would be a little chilly,
Yeah,
but
I'd sleep here.
not bad. And by the way, can we point out we are sitting on
That's right.
John's of Bleecker Street 1950s old benches that they got rid of, and we salvaged a couple, and we're going to be auctioning these off to raise money for Slice Out Hunger.
Oh, damn. You're not keeping these for the personal collection.
No, I do have one
Man of the
that
people.
I'm saving for personal collection for the eventual Pizza History Museum.
Nice. Well,
Which one day.
I love it.
But these two we're going to auction off. Some pizzeria out there can get them.
Very cool. And keep having kids come in and engrave their initials.
I mean, that's all the beauty of this thing.
It is.
And the gum on the bottom.
That's the beauty.
I love it.
It's New York, baby.
It is.
Also, this playlist has been fire this whole time.
I have had no complaints.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much.